"Come on, you bastards!" I growled as the beast raised its malicious gaze towards me from the torn-out throat of its victim. Its eyes were pitch black. Its sizable fangs were dripping with blood. The blood of my comrades. The monster looked into my eyes and sprang. Shatterspike, my trusty sword, caught the vermin in the middle of its jump and cleaved the creature in half. Blood and gore showered on the beautiful green lawn under us. Then I felt teeth closing around my shoulder, and I knew it was a trap. While the creature took my attention, its kin flanked me, and now the blood-crazed beast was hanging on my arm, trying to tear into my flesh with its razor-sharp teeth. It was a fatal mistake. The little blood squirrels were cunning beyond the natural, but I surmise that they haven't learned how to fight against man clad in proper armor. Lucky for me. With a scream of outrage, I dropped my sword and grabbed the critter. It was squirming and squealing, its fur matted in blood, its eyes beaming hatred. The beast tried to sink its fangs into my hand, but I gave it no time to chew through my gauntlet and crushed the tiny monstrosity into a bloody pulp. I disgustedly wiped my hand on the lawn, smearing the green blades with gore. Then I looked around. The battle had reached an impasse. The bloodthirsty critters attacked the head of our column as it entered the forest again. They took the drivers and merchants by surprise and massacred both humans and animals. The wagons were overturned in the chaos. Their wares littered in the path, while their crew lay dead in their own blood. Thankfully, the blood squirrels didn't wait for our whole caravan to disappear into the woods. Many wagons were still back in the glades where we spent the night, and thus we had some warning. I shuddered. If I hadn't had time to don on my armor, the critters would have ripped me into shreds. But the enemy, from stupidity or overconfidence, gave us the time we needed to rally and reorganize, and thus we repelled their first attack, albeit at a heavy cost. The not-so-long peaceful meadows was littered with corpses now, human and squirrels alike. Our survivors huddled around the wagons at the end of our column, while the furry little whores retreated into the forest. "I told those bloody fools this road would save us no time," snarled Bellrock, looking at the carnage around us.
"That dragon really scared the shit out of them,"
shrugged Jim.
"Can't say I blame them. It was a big one for sure, if it caught us in the open while hungry."
"The beast was plump as a miller's wife," snorted Bellrock.
"Anyone with an eye and half a brain could see it gorged itself. It was flying home to its nest. These woods, on the other hand,"
he gestured towards the slaughterhouse.
"You never know with it. It's too big and too strange. For 10 caravans to make it in, one never makes out."
"Looks like we're about to become that one," I mused. "There's only one way we can clear the road from all the broken wagons while fending off these damned squirrels. We should turn back and walk."
"I'm not leaving my books here,"
answered Bellrock. "I don't like it either, but our lives are more."
"I'm not leaving my books."
"Then what?" I snorted. "We have what, 10 men left alive besides ourselves? And how many horses? I say we saddle up, turn our tail and flee.
There's a problem with that,
mused Jim.
You remember that crevasse? The path that goes along the bank with a nicely chattering little creek?
It would be bad if the squirrels attacked us there, I admitted. But who knows what is before us? If we turn back now, at least we have to fight on familiar ground.
They will close the crevasse behind us,
said Mordred in a shaking voice.
I have heard of these squirrels.
What? I snapped at him. Speak up, man!
These are the servants of the druids who live in the forest. Back in the day, they were even attacking villages and abducting people for sacrifice. Then the Golden Grove and Sheepford both sent out an army. They burnt a large part of the forest and slew many druids.
But not all, I finished. I saw what was going on, and I did not like it one tiny bit. This pater take all the bloody druids and their bastard sorcery. By Jove, how I hate the damned heart rippers.
Well,
said Beldrak,
that certainly decides it. The way behind us is already closed, in all probability. Even one druid could make that crevasse impassable for courts and horses. So, what did we do?
asked Mordred, paling at the words.
We cut off the head of the serpent,
answered the Beldrak. The dwarf wizard's eyes were burning with determination. He was a cautious little man, always calculating, carefully preparing for all kinds of danger. But once he decided on a course of action, he could move with blinding speed.
Jim, take the water skins, as many as you can. I don't fancy to spend any time looking for creeks in this blasted heat. Arnold, you go and collect javelins.
I'll see if I can find a bow, too. I can't aim bows as well as my spears, but against these tiny monsters, it's handler.
Then take as many arrows as you can, too. I'll try to rearrange the wagons in the meantime, so the survivors can hold out while we're off druid hunting.
You're gonna leave us behind?
Cried one of the drivers. You want to come with us in the thick of the forest? I snapped. No? Thought so. Then shut your bloody mouth and do what the Truevel says.
Easy, lads,
said Beldrak, amusement flaring up in his eyes. Then he became all serious again and started to direct the survivors to arrange the wagons in a circle. Not that it would give much protection against the sneaky little blood squirrels.
If we aren't back by tomorrow this time, you're on your own,
said Jim cheerfully as he waved goodbye to the rest of the caravan. You certainly know how to raise morale in a few desperate survivors, I observed dryly.
It does no good to sugarcoat things,
shrugged the tiefling. Then he stepped into the forest. Jim was the best woodsman amongst the three of us, or woods tiefling, rather. He knew his way around the pathless shrubbery and kept a fast pace despite the circumstances. But it was still an arduous march. Ancient roots sprawled on the ground, and when I did not look at them directly, it was as if they had maliciously wriggled so that they could trip us. The twigs were like so many claws, reaching up to stab at us with thorns and spikes. That was a vain hope on that part, since we all had proper mail.
Are we going in the right direction?
Asked Jim after an hour, when we stopped to catch our breath.
We veered off a little to the right,
answered Beldrak. We didn't need to ask how he knew it. Beldrak Truevel was a master of divination, and he knew many things he really wasn't supposed to. We have seen him often enough to peer into the future and returned to us with valuable pieces of information. Mostly, he just saw glimpses. Those were useful too. He saved me from many wounds at time by yelling out a warning in the middle of a fight. He also knew whether we should bargain with a merchant or walk to another stand in the market. But sometimes it was much more than a glimpse. Beldreck saved our lives once, acting on information that he found while trying to divine his own future. In fact, that is how we met.
You think we can kill those druids?
Asked Jim.
You remember, even when it was just that one, alone?
We have already thrown their plans into confusion, I answered confidently. They certainly didn't count on us getting down from the path into the woods. We'll just have to keep hitting them so they can never regain their balance.
If you say so.
It took another hour before the blood squirrels finally came again. We were ready for them. I have seen how the red, furry creatures massed around the trees around us. Their tails fluttered and shook with excitement and bloodlust as they drew their circle closer and closer. Then, finally, they were close enough that I could take a shot. My arrow flew true. The cursed rodent shrieked. Then it fell to the ground, lifeless. Then, all hell broke loose. The squirrels attacked us in droves. A swarm of the damned critters hurled themselves towards us through the air. I only had time for one more arrow. Then I'd had to discard my bow for my shield and sword because our attackers were on us. Beldrick chanted one melodic word, and the woods came alight. His outstretched palms spat fire, and the shrieking squirrels were roasted in the air. Their charred corpses littered the ground around him. Jim fought with a dagger this time, the light blade flickering in the light of Beldrick's flames. The tiefling's weapon moved with grace, and the bloodthirsty shrieks of Jim's attackers were soon replaced with cries of anguish. Beldrick fought with sorcery. The tiefling relied on a swift blade, and I used my shield and longsword. Shatterspike wrote steely circles into the air, and whatever it went, it cut off small tails, severed minuscule heads, and cleaved tiny bodies in half. Like the wheat heavens lie down before the scythe of a reaper, like the dough thins out on the board of a baker, like the grapes turned into liquid under the feet of the treader, so did the rodents lie down one by one in our wake, their droves thinning, their bodies crushed into bloody pulps. The sun was at its zenith now, and its warm yellow rays stoked our flushed faces gently. Even the cloudless blue sky seemed to smile approvingly at our handiwork. And then the undead came. They emerged from amongst the trees slowly, in their own clumsy, menacing way. Zombies stumbled on the tree roots. Skeletons flattered through the bush, right under our blades. Beldrick's flames flared up again, while I grabbed the Shatterspike at the edge and used the pommel as a hammer, and Jim took a mace in his hand. Undead were indifferent to cuts and stabs, but their joints were weak, and we smashed them into useless piles of bone as they came. We fought for almost a quarter of an hour when the attack finally ceased. We bled from multiple wounds. We were out of breath, and it was unbearably hot in our armors. But the remains of our enemies littered the floor, and we were still standing. "What now?" I shouted defiantly into the woods. We beat your minions, you bastards. Will you come out and face us, or will we have to scour this blasted forest after you? Will you die like men, or will we have to hunt you down like the rats you are? If this doesn't draw them out, nothing does.
Famous last words, chuckled Beldrak. You seem to have a talent for these things, Arnold.
Our enemies, on the other hand, didn't find my speech amusing. An angry chill wind broke. The trees moaned. The bush hissed. A cold, stern voice started to speak in the wake of its squall.
Who are you, cursed outsider, that you dare speak to us like this? We are the lords of these woods, and we do not take such insolence lightly. You will regret these words soon enough.
The voice didn't even stop when I heard a dry twig silently snap behind us. I spun, raised my shield, and just in time to block a clawed paw of a giant brown bear. The druids had already sneaked up on us. Should have attacked while we were occupied with your servants, I thought with glee. Our enemies have made a fatal mistake, and we were about to make them pay. Then a boar crushed into my side, knocking me flat on the ground. The glee vanished, and it gave way to pain, terror, and self-pity. The boar was over me, grunting with satisfaction. Its teeth were already searching my throat. While my hands were frantically searching for my dagger, there was only one thought burning in my mind. How, in Disprata's name, did I get into this mess?